Yes, this week we have been driving the 2021 AMG E53 Coupe. It's a beast of a vehicle. I've been lucky enough to drive many Mercedes products throughout my years of reviewing vehicles, including the E63 Sedan, the E63 Wagen, and now I have the E53 Coupe. This is gonna be a fun one. Let's go.
I really wanted to get it right, trying to find some balance in my life. I never really put up a fight, and now I'm losing sleep.
All right, before we dive into specifics on this car, let's quickly talk about the E-Series in general. So like I said, you do have an E-Wagon, you have an E-Sedan, an E-Coupe, and an E-Convertible. The only one of those I haven't driven is the convertible. And oddly enough, I haven't driven any of the E-Class models, only the AMG models. The last one I drove was the 2021 E63 Sedan. So when it comes to AMG, if you're looking at the wagon or the sedan, you have the 53 or the 63. We'll talk a little bit more about differences there. But with the coupe, you're only looking at the 53 as the option. So that's a subtle difference there. And again, we're gonna go through this whole video and talk about which one I like the best, a little bit of the differences in the 53 and the 63, but for the most part, we're gonna be driving this thing, having fun with it. Before we can drive it though, we need to take a look around the exterior. So let's do that now. So let's talk about that exterior design. It is a really good looking vehicle, and I think it looks good in a coupe, even though I'm not a big fan of huge four doors turned into coupes. You can definitely tell the proportions are a little bit off. I think the C-Class coupe looks a little bit better as far as proportions go, but obviously this E53 has some good power, has some good looks. The bulges on the hood definitely do it for me. It's not really a purpose for those to be there. They don't have to be there to fit anything under the hood, but it definitely gives it a style and look that makes this thing feel more aggressive, more powerful. You got that big Mercedes waterfall grille with the big Mercedes logo and the AMG badge comfortably resting on the left-hand side. Obviously some great LED headlights, no fog lights in this one, but you do get some huge fins and openings on the front bumper there, and those are all surrounded by gloss black. The wheels there are 20-inch AMG wheels running Pirelli tires, really low profile, and although this thing has some comfortable suspension, those low profile tires definitely let you feel the road beneath you. We'll talk more about that as we drive it though. One of the unique and cool things about this design is that it has no B-pillar. So it goes straight from the A-pillar back to the C-pillar, and it's got that floating roof design. So when you put down the windows, you have no B-pillar there. Again, it's a unique design. It works for this coupe setup, and we can all just hope that it's strong enough in case this thing ever rolls. Around the back, again, LED taillights, massive quad exhaust. Those things not only look cool, they sound really great. But of course, you got that E53 badge and that AMG badge flanking the trunk. And taking another step back here, let's quickly talk about the dimensions of this coupe. Like I said, it is a sizable coupe because it's built on that sedan platform, but it's not the same size as the sedan. So your wheelbase here in the coupe is 113.1 inches. The sedan is 115.7 inches. Your total length is 190.6 inches, and the sedan is 196.2 inches. Your width is 80.8 inches, where the sedan is 81.3 inches, and your total height is 56.3 inches, where the sedan is 57.4 inches. All that being said, it is shorter, a little bit narrower than the sedan. So the proportions are a little bit different, but not by a massive amount. With that, let's pop the trunk really quick, take a look at the cargo volume, we'll pop the hood, take a look at the engine under the hood, and then we'll jump inside. So looking in the trunk here, you have 10.0 cubic feet of cargo volume, and that's only notable because the sedan has 13.1, so that little bit shorter of a wheelbase, a little bit shorter of an overall length, you are cutting out some of your cargo volume, but it is still large enough to cram full of groceries, to cram full of camera gear, probably whatever you're looking to get in there is just fine. It's nice, it's carpeted. You've got handles back here to drop your rear seats if you need to fold them down and increase the volume of your trunk. But all in all, it's just a trunk in a coupe. Let's go check out under the hood. All right, and first of all, as far as engine compartments go, wow. You've got exposed aluminum here, showing that light frame. You've got your intake vents up here in the front, big engine cover, but underneath that is the AMG enhanced 3-liter inline-6 turbocharged engine with EQ boost and an electric auxiliary compressor. This setup pushes 429 horsepower, 384 foot-pounds of torque, and is matched up to the AMG Speed Shift 9-speed automatic transmission. And the setup should propel this big coupe from 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Something we'll definitely be checking out. That being said, while the turbocharged inline-6 is the top of the trim you can get in the coupe, the wagon and sedan both have the E63 variant, which gives you a 4-liter V8 bi-turbo engine, which pushes 603 horsepower, 627 foot-pounds of torque. That thing is a monster. Like I said, I do have reviews out on those if you want to go check them out. This one is the E53, which we're still cool with, and I'll show you exactly why as we get behind the wheel. With that, let's jump inside. All right, and sitting inside this coupe, there's probably no need to tell you, but this is a super nice interior. We do have the saddle brown and black Napa leather interior with carbon fiber trimming. Really nice setup, and probably the setup that I would get if I was buying this personally. But obviously there's a lot of different options as far as the interior trimming goes. These seats do have the AMG decal right there in them. They do have contrast stitching with that saddle brown, and we carry contrast stitching along the rest of the interior with white. Really great look. Let me pick you guys up and show you around. And to show you around, let's kick it on. It is push button start. It's a pretty quiet startup overall, and you immediately see the dual screen setup that we have. They are 12.3-inch dual displays. One is a touchscreen, one obviously doesn't need to be a touchscreen, but your infotainment is a touchscreen. It can also be controlled with the pad down here in the console, as well as voice control as you say, "Hey Mercedes." You also get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you get wireless charging from a wireless pad down here at the bottom. And you can see your interface here is a USB Type-C port. And you have 2 more USB Type-C chargers in the console. There is no USB Type-A, so you'll definitely have to have that or have a converter. Moving back up, we have our Mercedes vents there with some ambient lighting built in. That carbon fiber trimming, our AC and heat controls there, and a couple other physical buttons down here. There are obviously a lot of different options we can choose through the menu and a lot of different things that we can see. And that's pretty on par with all of the Mercedes vehicles. I don't want to do a really deep dive into the infotainment screen. Let's move over to the gauge cluster over here, which is all digital. Obviously, this can be configured and you can change it into different modes like classic to sport, sport to super sport. And then you have understated, which is a little bit smoother and cleaner. We'll keep it on that sport display for now. And as you saw, we can go up and change some of our head-up display options here. So this does have a really nice and crisp head-up display, and you can configure it to show you a lot of different information. It's really nice. Coming back in, we look at our steering wheel. This is the new steering wheel for 2021. The previous year model had chrome on the steering wheel and wasn't super easy to read. This is much better to look at a glance. You have dials down here to configure different things, which are pretty much redundant from buttons that you get here in the console. So as you might have already seen, we have our dynamic toggle here, which is your drive modes basically from comfort, individual, slippery, and sport, and then sport plus. This one shifts you from manual shifting to your automatic shifting. You can set your suspension as tight as you want it to be, traction control, your exhaust from being loud or powerful to being balanced, your start stop feature you can turn on and off, and then a camera toggle. And the camera toggle will show you your radars and obviously your cameras. This has a full 360 system, which is really nice looking. So really great interior here, lots of cool toys, lots of great options, but finally, let's get this thing out on the road. Let's start talking about the way that it drives and have some fun. So we're going to start off in comfort mode, and like I quickly mentioned as we were looking at the exterior, these are low profile tires on 20-inch wheels, and they are a little bit more harsh than you might expect from a Mercedes. It's not the suspension. You can actually dial in the suspension to be comfortable or tighter, and the comfort mode does loosen that suspension up. But with those really low profile tires, you can definitely feel the road surface a little bit more, any crack, any kind of bump that you hit. It's not really harsh, but it's a little bit more harsh than you might expect from a Mercedes. Take that for what you will. The seats in here are extremely comfortable. They are heated and cooled seats. They are massaging seats. They feel really nice, really easy to get a comfortable seating position. The steering wheel is nice and beefy. You got all the controls here on the steering wheel. You got the head-up display, so you don't have to look down to your screen here. And overall, in comfort mode, it's a nice, pretty quiet and decent place to be. We do have that active AMG exhaust on here, so whenever you turn it into sport mode, it definitely livens up a lot. But for what it is, driving day to day, this is a comfortable ride, which is what you would expect from your Mercedes. But it is also AMG, so we can switch it into sport mode or sport plus mode. We've got our active exhaust on, powerful. We've got our transmission still just in automatic mode. And nothing immediately changed as we're just cruising here down the road, but as soon as you hit that accelerator, it shifts down and you start going. That exhaust is livened up. You got some burbles coming out the back, and this thing definitely changed into a whole new monster. So we already looked at the engine. It is only a straight 6, but it is turbocharged. It does have really good power for the size of engine, and this is a bigger coupe, but it handles that power really well. Let's feel a couple of back road turns. And you probably can't hear, but you are getting some burbles from that exhaust as we slow down and it rev matches. And I'll shut up so you can hear it a little bit better. But we're about to come up on some S turns. We'll feel those brakes. You have 14-inch rotors up front with 4-piston calipers, and they slow you down pretty good. Turning in, very flat. And coming out, good power. Again, nice sweeping turn here. Nice and flat, very direct steering, no issues there. Steering wheel is perfectly weighted. It's perfect to grip. You've got that perforated leather there on the steering wheel, nice and beefy. You can just charge into a corner, hit those brakes, trust them, turn in, power out. Again, brake hard, turn in, and we have somebody in front of us. Of course, you have a lot of safety features, you have a lot of driving tech in this thing, but really just getting this in Sport Plus mode and throwing it into some corners, it is a really great and fun driving car. It can be pushed a lot harder than what we're pushing it here, obviously, but we're just on some backcountry roads, so we're not going to go too hard. Charging into the corner, brake hard, hear that burble, turn in, power out, brake hard, turn in, and again, we've caught up to somebody. The difference in driving with this thing being in comfortable mode and sport or sport plus is just insane. It definitely deadens the throttle, makes it a lot smoother on the throttle, smoother down the road when you're in comfort mode. When you turn it into Sport Plus, this thing is just immediate power, immediate steering, a lot stiffer suspension. And again, it's different than feeling the road with those low profile tires as feeling the road with that stiffer suspension. But as much as I like how BMWs and others drive and how light and tight they feel, this thing feels more like a muscle car. Even with that turbocharged 6-cylinder engine, this thing just feels like it's got the muscle behind it. We've got the 4MATIC all-wheel drive system, so we are pushing 4 wheels. And we had the pleasure of driving this thing in some pretty harsh rain, and it handles just fine with that 4-wheel drive system. And even though it does feel like a muscle car, you kind of forget how big of a vehicle it is. While you're driving, you forget everything that's behind you until you look into the rearview mirror. Feels like a tight, nicely packaged vehicle because it is. But personally, I'm not a huge fan of coupes this large. Let's take this up on the highway. Turn in, about 14 miles per hour, gun it. There's definitely the power to push you back in your seat, which is impressive. Now, having driven the E63 in the sedan, which is the package that I would prefer, I really like that sedan. And it's just easier to manage for day-to-day driving because, especially if you got a family and you're needing to put people in those back seats, getting them in and out with the sedan is just so much easier. And if you're looking for a coupe, there's still the option of getting the C-Class coupe, and it has a spectacular engine in it as well. So if I was getting a coupe, I would probably lean towards the C-Class, but in this E-Class, I really like that sedan and that E63. Although it's more money, we'll talk more about that in a sec, it is a beast. This thing pushes you back in your seat. That thing makes you hold on for dear life. But yeah, you can cruise up on the highway just fine. Again, it's got safety and tech in there to keep you in your lane, radar guided cruise control, things like that. But if you're into driving and you're buying this thing because you're into driving, you're not gonna mess with that unless maybe you're on a long road trip This is a good GT car. So don't let people tell you that they don't make GT cars anymore, because this is a fantastic GT car. And you're gonna get better fuel economy because it's got that 6-cylinder engine. But if you keep it in Sport Plus mode and do that all the time, you're not gonna get great fuel economy. This is definitely a car for Texas. I think GT cars are great for Texas because you can do some long distance driving here in Texas at some high speeds legally because of our roads and our speed system. But you can also quieten it down, get it into the city, park it fine, and it can live in the city just as well as it can out on the big highways. And that's the type of mix that a lot of people in Texas end up driving a good portion of the time in the city on the small roads, and then every once in a while getting out onto the highways, making those long road trips. This thing will do it all. All right, so we got a bit of a back country road here, nice and straight. We've got it in Sport Plus. We've got the exhaust on powerful. Let's put it into manual shift mode. Let's do a bit of a 0 to 60. It's rated at 4.3 seconds. That's quick, and I completely believe that. I doubt we'll hit that because I'm not great at doing this, as you might know, but we're gonna do it anyway. So ready, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, forgot to call out 60. It's one of those things you just hold and go. Let's try that again though. So let's try 0 to 60. Ready, set, go. And 60. Boom. Yeah, this thing is a blast to drive. And the power is actually a little surprising. I mean, I know it's an AMG. I know it's got the horsepower, but every time you feel that power push you back in your seat, knowing it's not the bi-turbo V8 under the hood, it's still pretty impressive. Ooh, and those brakes are good. Those brakes are good. Yeah. So that's that. And then after you do that, put it back into comfort mode. Come back out onto the main road and just cruise home. And with that, I'm sure you're really interested on how much this thing costs. So let's go ahead and pull back over. We'll talk about the price. We'll break down how much the MSRP of this one that we're in right now. And then I'll give you some of my final thoughts and we'll wrap up the video there. But first, my heart's beating too much. Let's find a place to pull over. All right, guys, now that I've talked you to death about the exterior, about the engine, about the trunk, and the interior, we've taken it for a drive. We've had some fun in it. Let's talk about the price. So the base E-Class, the E450 Coupe, has a base price of $64,950. The E450 4MATIC, which is the all-wheel drive, is $67,450. Jumping into the AMG E53, you're looking at a base price of $76,250. And then our MSRP in this vehicle is $100,150. $160. And that's including things like the $720 paint, the $2,990 interior trimming, the $2,850 carbon fiber package, the $250 option heated steering wheel, the $950 black option that gives you some of the black accents on the exterior, the $1,250 AMG exhaust system, that $4,500 Burmster audio system, and a few more piled on top of that that gets you over that $100,000 mark. So that's a lot of money, but if you are looking at the AMG E63 in the sedan or the wagon, you are looking at well over $100,000. I think the last one we drove was about $120,000, $130,000. So that's almost a whole nother car on top of this car. So with that, the $100,000 for this is the bargain of the century. But with that, let's jump back out. Let's quickly talk about some final thoughts and we'll wrap up the video there. All right, guys, so the final thoughts, the conclusion on this one should be no surprise. The E53 is an amazing vehicle from Mercedes. Yes, you can jump up to the E63 if you get the sedan. And if it was my money, I was spending, of course, that's a $20,000, $30,000 bump. So it's a whole nother car in of itself, but that's where my money would go. I really like the sedan, the E63. If you're going for it, you might as well go all out. But either way, both of them are really great vehicles. Style-wise, I would choose the sedan over the wagon, the coupe, or the convertible. Interested to hear what you guys would choose. I know a lot of automotive fans out there really like the wagon. I do too, but driving that sedan was just probably the perfect match for me personally. This coupe, the E53, it's a great vehicle. Again, no surprise. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the thumbs up button if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We do a review every week, plus a lot of other cool stuff along the way. Go check out TXGARAGE.com if you haven't already. We've got a lot of written reviews over there by a lot of great authors, as well as event and news coverage. And with that, guys, thanks for watching.